many schools and how many years?
Well, the vision is that every parent across the country, but we're starting in Rhode Island and in New York, has a choice of what school their child goes to. And so it's no longer determined for you where your child goes to school, but that you have a choice. And that's true for low-income parents, high-income parents. Everyone should have a choice. And so as long as we have kids on our waiting list, we're going to build new schools. And we'd like to keep building them out in the Blackstone Valley and across Rhode Island.
Well, it's interesting that this choice thing, because I, as a tuition-paying Catholic school parent, certainly can empathize, and that's the only reason we made that transition out of the public schools last year. But I've always advocated, as a Catholic school product of 16 years, and have run against the tide with private school parents who believe that they need, a voucher system. And then those who advocate that you ought to be able to choose between private and public. And I've said, no, we need an intra-public school choice. We need to be able to, I would rather see a chance for some kid to go from North Providence to Johnston if they wanted to, or from Johnston to Barrington, or Barrington to Providence if they wanted to, versus gutting the financial cash flow of the public school system. You are, I think, the middle ground in that.
Well, we're doing it now.
You're an intra-public school player.
We're a regional public school, and so we've heard for a long time in Rhode Island about regionalization of services, and we're taking students from 4 different communities. We're serving them for less money than the traditional schools, and so we're able to give parents a choice of a really high-quality public school, but it feels to them like a private school.
People are going to ask, let me get this out and then we'll get to some philosophy on education. How do you make money?
Well, as a public school, we get the dollars in from the city and state.
So you're carving out a little bit of dough from the budget for yourself as the founder director.
It's a salary position just like anything else, and so
Is that public information?
It's public information, and so it's all out there. Our staffing model generally is that people who work for Democracy Prep make 10% above the district that they're working in. And then on top of that, they can earn up to 10% more for a bonus. So that's true for teachers and administrators.
Are you drawing income from both facilities, both in Harlem and here?
Well, no, it's just one salary that's based on that.
Okay. So as you add facilities, as the director or superintendent, do you have a principal at the Blackstone Valley?
We do. We have a great principal. Mr. Chapetta is, worked in the Providence Public Schools and really got
so you're
excited
back and
by this
between
idea.
Harlem and here.
Yep.
Okay.
About 2 days a week in Rhode Island.
I get that. All right. It seems like there's a lot of smart people for running a single kindergarten. Here's Connie in here, and what the hell? You just had a field trip and you took the kids to college?
That's right.
What is that all about?
We took our scholars.
Your kindergarten kids.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, your scholars.
Yeah, our scholars.
You got to speak the right way.
To Rhode Island College today, and we toured the campus a bit. We showed them the library, what they refer to as the big scholars, the college students who were studying, walking around with their books. And we took a small tour of the athletic complex and just talked to them about what it means to go to college. And we also got to watch a dance performance.
Did they get it? Did they know where they were?
They did.
Did they understand?
Yes.
But I think the bigger thing here is just a shift in the way that we think about what public schools are here for. So here we're taking kindergartners to a college visit. We're showing them what their potential is, what the future can be for them. And that shift is right. I mean, when you say there's a lot of smart people working on that, it's exactly right. We're changing who is in this profession and raising the bar dramatically. I mean,
what do you mean you're changing who's in this profession?
Well, here's Connie, in Madrid, and someone who had all sorts of different exciting life experiences, and finds out about a tiny school in Rhode Island across the world. I mean, we are changing. We're putting Rhode Island on the map with mayoral academies.
But close to home, of course. That had to have some value.
There's some roots that are, of course, helpful to have. But the big picture is that the people that we're able to bring into this are people who wouldn't want to deal with the bureaucracy and red tape of being in a traditional system. I mean, just a personal quick story is that I tried to teach in the Providence Public Schools about 6 years ago when I was still teaching, and they wouldn't let me into the Providence Public Schools because I had a Massachusetts certification, which there's reciprocity, but they hadn't processed it yet, so I couldn't teach in Providence. Ended up in Attleboro for a year. So this is the bureaucracy that good people don't want to deal with. And when you have a mayoral academy that has a focus on treating teachers and families well and rigorous academics that makes them want to be in that environment. I mean, teachers aren't in it for the money. They're in it because they want to teach kids. And we give them that.
You know what? That's how they start that way, and then 3 or 4 get gathered and they become werewolves. And you know that. There's a problem in the culture of teachers and teacher unions right now, and I don't need to And I really don't want to put Connie into that conversation unless you have your own independent thought that you want to articulate about that. But I mean, there is an image issue right now at an all-time high problem with public school teachers and the way they are. The day I see them, threaten to walk out or wear buttons to advocate for something educational versus their own damn compensation package is the day I think I might just say, okay, I'm all done now.
Well, what's great about Amarillo Academy is that we can pair teachers better, and the biggest part, though, is that we hire who we want and we fire who we want.
Interestingly enough, though, the labor unions and the teacher union specifically tried to cast this project as something that would be actually almost slave labor for teachers, and that you would make less, you would have less representation, you wouldn't have benefits, and God Almighty, guess what? You're not going to get your guaranteed pension. Tell me about that, Connie. Tell me about your package and how you feel about it.
I'm very happy with my package. I have the same benefits that I had when I worked for the public schools in Alaska. I worked as a after-school coordinator.
Are you contributing toward that benefit package?
Yes.
Well, at Blackstone Valley, the package is a little bit new, but the bottom line is we use, for example, a 401k as opposed to a pension. Oh. And so we pay a 5% match dollar for dollar, which is one of the more generous matches in the country.
Right, so your retirement plan, you're doing what every other hardworking American is doing.
That's right.
Hoping the market's going to make some corrections and live in our real world. Do you contribute to your health care?
So the healthcare system is a Blue Cross plan, and just like anyone else, we pay 20% of that as a teacher, and that's when you're first year you pay 20% of your healthcare plan. But one of the things we're doing to break the mold a little bit and be different is that the longer you work with Democracy Prep, the lower your part of that contribution will be. But the big difference here is that if somebody is at some point in their career not serving kids well, we can let them go. And so there's no tenure process. There's nothing that will keep a bad teacher in a classroom. We can ultimately say, is this teacher giving the best value for our students as all those other hundreds of people?
You run the school like a business, and a manager has to make a decision as to whether his subordinates are actually, executing the charge of the organization.
I mean, it's not a business, but it is running it as an efficient and thoughtful organization about what's best for our mission.
Fine. Semantics. The idea that the Ed Commissioner right now is trying to put together, and East Providence, there's some entrepreneurial thought within the paradigm of the public schools where they're trying to put together a 3-year plan toward teacher evaluation, come hell or high water. Do you have thoughts as to what it is that ought to be incorporated in that in terms of what makes a good teacher and how you evaluate his or her competency or achievement?
Well, we've broken the mold a little bit on teacher evaluation. So what we say is, number one, what matters most for a teacher is, are their kids succeeding academically? And are they making progress? And the reason that I focus on the progress component is that we want to serve kids who are special needs, who are English language learners. We want to serve the students who generally have been left behind. And so we need to measure the progress, not just the absolute performance, which might not be high when they walk in the door. So Connie's going to get an evaluation every 3 months, which sits down with her on a rubric that she gets in advance that outlines both the academic progress they need to make, the academic absolute performance they need to have, and a metric which has about 50 different items where she knows exactly what she needs to do to be successful as a Democracy Prep teacher.
And you're shaking your head. You bought into that, right?
Absolutely.
Did you have a hand in constructing that rubric?
No, I did not.
In other words, it's given to you, and you better damn well achieve it, correct?
I knew about it before signing on.
Right. So it's a transparent process. So teachers are able to look at the rubric. They get feedback. Their principal is in their room literally every day, giving them feedback on all of the items in the rubric. And so we know whether teachers are succeeding or not regularly.
Are you going to want to teach kindergarten kids the entire way, or do you want to grow with this crowd?
It depends. I would like to grow. We'll see what happens.
What makes you an excellent teacher for these scholars?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I am enthusiastic. I hold my students accountable for their work, and I want to be held accountable for my work as well, which is why I very much like the rubric that we as teachers will be assessed on.
This idea of scholars, words do matter, don't they?
A lot.
And what you call little people probably sticks.
Well,
right? They hear enough slang and enough disrespect and enough, we're all inclined to call them a bunch of kids. You call them your scholars.
They're our scholars, but not only that, they're not just kindergartners at Democracy Prep. They're the college class of 2026. And if you ask them when they're going to graduate from college, every one of those 5-year-olds knows it's the year 2026.